So what's one other thing that you see in this area of coaching? Because I think that's something you end up doing, spend a lot of time on, and I know you're passionate about. Help frame coaching, because it wasn't until about last year that we hosted a guest from America that came over and taught us about coaching that I had a good understanding of it. I always kind of thought it was, life coaches, and so many people were becoming life coaches, and I was like, what is that? So frame coaching for us that it gives us a good general understanding.
Yeah, that's a tough. You're walking. For me, coaching is simply a journey that I'm walking alongside somebody, and I have a particular path that I followed that has given me some tools, some wisdom, some insights, and if I'm able to, if I've digested those insights and wisdom and lived those out, then I'm a living, breathing opportunity in that journey to share what I've learned with somebody else. So I always look at it as and we do this with kids off the street here. We do this with kids off the street in Indianapolis. In Indianapolis, we work with the same clientele. So I worked with over 450 at-risk families with kids over the last 20 years. And I say to them the same thing I say to the executive. I'm here with you for a period of time. I'm a resource, and I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to help you figure out where you're going. And at the end of the day, you do all the work. We learn together, and I'm going to learn from you too. Everybody has something they can teach somebody else. Right. So I think a coach is that person who, first of all, kind of has the resources developed over time, but they also see the playing field. You can get to 30,000 feet and you see the playing field, and you have some insight and perspective that you're not in that person's situation, so you can be a reflection. You can be a person they can talk to. They can be a safe person to talk to. Yep. And as you know, if we can just talk sometimes, if we can just express our frustrations. I ask people all the time, do you have a safe person to talk to? Well, guess what? If you're an executive, you're a general manager, or you're somebody, no.
In a different country, nonetheless. Yeah.
Well, here's a safe person you can talk to. And guess what? I worked with 25 other people just like you. So a coach is somebody who's been through it, played the game, and I never ask anybody to do something I haven't done except you. I always try to make it a motto. I'm not going to ask you to do something I haven't already done. I asked him to do a podcast, and I've never done a podcast, and he's doing it, and I'm the first one.
Here we go.
But
full circle, man.
Yeah, so I like it. So that coach it's a great it's a journey that you're sharing with somebody else, and if you have a particular expertise, sometimes you need a particular expertise, other times you just need some wisdom, And I've been married 38 years. So guess what? I'm the oldest guy. I've been married 38 years. I have 4 kids, 4 millennials. Wow. And they're like, Steve, can you work with millennials? And guess what? I have a millennial boss. So Stacy, if you ever see this, Stacy's like 36 years old.
He's a good guy, Stacy.
And I'm like, and the owner 5 years ago, he said, Steve, well, can you work with millennials? And I said, hey, I'm Facebook friends with my 4 kids, and they're millennials. And so we work. And the other thing, being older, the fun thing is I can work with the millennials, the Gen Xers, the boomers. Yeah. And I don't know what you call those younger ones, Z or something. I don't know. Gen Xers. Yeah. So you not only have the cross-cultural piece, you have the cross-generational piece. Yeah. So I'm oftentimes coaching people because I've lived long enough now. I understand the millennial challenge. I understand. So the millennials are pushing the Gen Xers. Okay. The boomers are sitting on top of the Gen Xers. The Gen Xers have been 15 years in their career. We won't get out of the way. We don't understand the rules. The millennials have broken all the rules. You guys have thrown the book out. You don't want to work the way we were taught to work. The Xers, the 40, 45-year-olds are really frustrated. So I'm oftentimes coaching on a generational, cross-cultural intelligence coming to the realization that we're going to have to think differently here. So during this journey, I'm going to help you learn to navigate this, to negotiate this, to have those crucial conversations. Why? Because I've had those crucial conversations. Why? I've failed for many times, and I've also succeeded in those failures. And I tell everybody I'm learning a new lesson that failure is just a disappointment. And disappointment means you just need to recalibrate. So I keep thinking, so many times we want to get something perfect, we don't want to fail. We're never going to get something, we're not going to be successful in the first try. But try. Go ahead and risk it. And I'm oftentimes the coach is the person who's instilling confidence at times. Yeah. And part of my job is to listen, and then when somebody leaves me, I want them energized. And if you're in a good coaching relationship, you're in a good relationship, the coach is energizing you. And you're going to get corrected, you're going to get, but you're going to end up respecting each other, you're going to be energized, and the coach is going to help you understand where your position is on the field, help you see the field. So it's a really, you do so many different things. You're parenting, you're walking together, you're laughing, you're telling your stories together, but there's a trust built in intimacy. You end up creating a transformational, I call it the transformational power of language. I don't have an elevator speech, I take the stairs and I just say, Steve, what do you do? I work with the transformational power of language. And when you sit down with somebody face to face, even in broken English, and you communicate once a week for a year or two, you can see people come out of a depression and come into a success, or you just see the lives transform. And that's rewarding, it's challenging. When they fail, you're part of that failure. But that failure is not a failure, it's a disappointment. And we can recalibrate that. So a lot of coaching is recalibrating, a lot of coaching is training. Yeah. And when I train, the good news is I read this book, I get to absorb it, and then I get to go teach it. So I have a couple thousand books in my library right now, and I'm reading maybe 5 simultaneously, and then I pick out the best of each one. I write on LinkedIn. This would be like, this is the couple I was visiting in Istanbul. The day before they left, they had a bride with us, Hakan and his wife, Daphne. And I wrote a 1,300 character story about my time with them, and I said something about you guys too. And one of the fun things is I can actually, I take a picture of all my clients when we first meet. I ask for permission. I say, if I take your picture, I may use you in a post because I want to talk about your growth and my growth. Is that okay? Yes, I think so. And the first time I tried it was with an Italian guy, Serafino, one of my favorite guys, executive. And I had him hold up a sign saying Italian. And he's a really great leader. He's an up-and-coming leader. He's going to be CEO material. And I wrote a story about Serafino. And I told in that story the positive qualities I saw in him. And they were true, but they might have been exaggerated, but they're true. And so I'm encouraging him. And I post that. I hit send. I'm like, gosh, am I supposed to hit send? I got his picture and I wrote about him and he hasn't seen it. He didn't get to edit it. I hit send and I wait for like 24 hours, 500 views. An hour later, 700 views. An hour later, 1,000 views. An hour later, next day, 6,000 views. Wow. And then I get a note from Serafino, thanks. I'm like, okay. So then I began to realize, I can bless these people by walking alongside them, relating with them, learning from them, and then I can post something that we both learned together. And so I'll write a story about them, post their picture, and I think I currently have 16,000 followers on LinkedIn. So, we talk about influence. Yeah. And I'm not afraid about influence anymore. I think our job is to try to influence. Yeah. With humility, with grace, but with courage. Yeah. And every time I hit send, I'm a little hesitant, but I'm realizing, wait a second, I'll take the blowback if I make a mistake, and I'll admit it. But I'm trying to do this with humility and grace, and I'm trying to bless somebody. So coach is going to be somebody who energizes you. When you're in a meeting and you get the life sucked out of you. Yeah. Avoid those meetings. And when you have those meetings where you're energized, that is where real growth occurs. So I'm telling people all the time, are your meetings productive? If they're productive, you're leaving those meetings energized. Yeah. If you're getting drained and you're not doing something right. So we talk about team meetings a lot. We talk about how do we sit down together and negotiate these tough conversations, crucial conversations, dangerous conversations. And you see how an Italian might handle a conversation. It's going to be a little different than Norwegian. Yeah. And the Japanese might sit quietly and they would say, Steve, I never even got a chance to talk. You Americans cannot quit talking. They have a positive pause. And we need to give them the space to talk. So if we're in a meeting and we know there's going to be Japanese present, we need to leave space for them. So those kind of things, you just begin to see, and after hearing what the Brazilians need, what the Japanese need, what do the Chinese need, what do the Europeans need, okay, if we can, and this is what he's saying in the book, is if you can deviate from your normal assumptions, then you might really have communication. And when it's good, it's good, and when it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it. That's really the objective here, right? Is having a conversation. Mm-hmm. And just like you see LinkedIn as an avenue to bless people and to have a conversation, create a conversation. Hopefully that's what this could be. And like I said, it's really meaningful for me to have you here for our my first real interview. sharing that together. Because you kind of dropped the seed and the spark that took a year to come to fruition, but here we are together having a conversation, and I hope it's useful for other people. I hope we can share your story and what you're doing here in Romania and in Indianapolis, and really globally, your impact, and especially through LinkedIn. So number one, how do people connect with you on LinkedIn? What's the best way to reach out to you if people are looking for coaching even?
Yeah, just look for Steven Reynolds. I don't know. This is what's so funny. Here I am, a boomer. I don't understand technology very well. So I need the younger people to help me with all those kind of issues. But I figured out how to use LinkedIn.
Awesome.
If you just look under Steven Reynolds, you can probably find me. I don't know how to.
We'll link to it
Yeah.
under the video. I think Sami can take care of that.
Yeah.
And so we'll link to you.